So, Tim, Wednesday night, all is right in the world. Mets lose again, but
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about the Mets.
it's not all right. It's not all right.
It's
The
I
the,
met,
Ran-
you
the
know,
Rangers, the Rangers. But I mean,
now the
they
Rangers.
come on, man. I mean,
Well, I
it
mean,
made it.
so here you go. First of all, yes, they lost, and I'm sure if they had won, I'd be singing a much different tune. But when I'm looking at a hockey game on a Monday on August 3rd at noon in front of nobody, that's problematic. I understand they're doing their best, but it just was lacking. And again,
Although
maybe it's the
although
fact that the Rangers got throttled.
yesterday was Tuesday, and the game was on at 8 p.m. But whatever, man. I
No,
mean,
but
I don't.
Monday, no, I understand. But my point is on Monday, I'm watching this game. I'm like, it's noon, it's 100 degrees out, and I'm not amped up for hockey. Anyway, that's not why I want to talk to you. So
All right.
I'm old. You know that. And I'm
You know
old.
what? I think
Even if I wasn't old, I'm old.
I don't think you're that old, by the way. I mean, you play the old card a lot. I think you try to play it to your advantage. By the way, I'm not falling for it. You know, you're 2 years older than me, so.
But you get all this stuff. By the way, you know, I don't know if I know you know this, but you know, eBay used to own the PayPal, as you know, and they
I know that
spun
you know that
sucker
I
out.
know that PayPal.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
You know that PayPal, given the move that stock had over the last, it's a $238 billion company. It's probably one of the largest 30 companies in the United States. It's a
In the world.
crazy, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean, think about that for a second. And
Well,
I guess my question to you is, so PayPal, monster, Square, a monster. Clearly the world is moved that way. It was moving that way anyway. Obviously the last 6 months have accelerated, but do these stocks, are they tapping out here, or do they still have room?
you know, there's a couple major trends that have been that characterized the last 6 months, and I think we need to talk about the weaker dollar quickly. But there's no question that frictionless, contactless payments, e-commerce, anything that's related to also frankly removing the middleman, price transparency, and bringing at least a broader array of stickier services and cross-selling on your platform, and that is Square. That is PayPal. You know, I was investing in PayPal when, to me, it was the way to play payments and banking in Latin America, when their Mercado Pago. Yes, nice. You like that accent?
Fantastic.
It was, but that was my indoctrination into investing in PayPal, and that was 7-8 years ago. This is the move in these stocks. We sound like a broken record, or at least I do, because as I said tonight on the show, I sold 80% of my Square position, which was a heroic run about $40 ago on the stock, and thought I was very thankful and really expected that I had made a very tactical call and was going to buy the stock back at $80. The stock traded down into a mid 40s handle in the bottom of the crisis. So it's up almost 280%, actually, with the move today. And this move today, maybe this is your blow off top. I think we need to watch this. I think at some point it's not even about unsustainable. It's where do you value this? But I think these trends of certain businesses that were very much the beneficiaries. Roku announces after the bell. These guys, they've seen their streaming services up 105%. ARPU, which is avenue revenue per user, up 18%. They predicted that their second half will be substantial, so they upgraded their second half outlook. And they bothered to say that they think the digital ad market's under pressure. Yeah, no kidding. And there's some that think this is really just a negotiation ploy to get HBO Max and Peacock under the roof, because frankly, this streaming service and their ability to actually work with everyone is why Roku is, and I've been very wrong on this stock, has continued to surprise to the upside. It's at stratospheric levels. I think they were sandbagging a little bit.
Yeah. Listen, and I get it. And just a few technicians out there, because we mentioned Roku tonight on Fast Money. If you go back and look, the high in September of 2019 was about, I think, 170 or thereabouts. And the level we just basically stopped at over the last couple of days is basically this 170 level. And I think as we do this tonight, Tim, I think the stock is trading down to 157 or so, having closed around 168. So although it was a fantastic quarter, given the three metrics you just mentioned, streaming hours, average subs, ARPU, all staggering. they might be sandbagging a little bit. Now you have to ask yourself, where do you get back in? And as I said on the show tonight, I'll say to you, I think it's in the mid 140s. But to the earlier point about sustainability, you say something even remotely negative, and you see what kind of effect it can have on the stock, and that'll come home to roost at a certain point to the things you brought up with PayPal and Square.
Yeah, let's quickly talk about the dollar because it's now down 10% off of those highs. And I think that there are ramifications for this. This is we don't need a whole lot of ammunition to get going on our Fed tirade. People are probably tired of hearing about it, but there's no question this is a function of Federal Reserve. This is a function of fiscal stimulus to the moon just to keep the administration in power. This is also a function of where actually fundamentals do somewhat matter on in currency land, current account surplus, for example, in the European Union. I know despite what you think about the ECB, there's actually a much stronger current account backstop to having the euro continue to hold ground. I actually think that the dollar's going lower. And I think that that's something to watch in the context of commodities, which have really lagged. I do think that this move in oil, which has been very, very, first of all, it's been grinding around it with a low 4 handle in the 40s, is now broken through slowly through that 200-day. I actually think oil is off to the races. And I think if you look at the trade that began this move lower for markets back in I think the third week of February is really when that oil precipice, it was actually, I think the 26th, is when Saudi Arabia and Russia basically agreed that they were going to not necessarily cut production, but they were actually going to turn on the spigots, and we know who they were focused on. I would actually be playing oil from the long side, and I think you have some room to run.
I agree with that, and it's interesting, and this is not political. This is just actually factual. A year or so ago, it's probably longer now, time goes by very quickly, when oil prices were higher, President Trump came out and said, the price of oil is too high, OPEC is ripping us, whatever he said, I'm paraphrasing. We need oil prices lower. And okay, so oil prices started to go lower, but, be careful what you wish for. Then they got too low, and he's like, well, wait a second. You got to do something about these oil prices. They're too low. Well, okay. Now they're starting to ratchet up again. We're going to get to a point again where he starts talking about the oil price being too high, and he's not going to be able to stop these things. And you know what? Be careful what you wish for. And in terms of the weaker dollar, it's bullish for equities until it's not. That's not meant to be glib, but that's true. And we're getting precariously close to those levels.
Well, real quick, because I know we got to get out of here, but here's something that kind of annoys me as it relates to oil prices. It's gas prices, and it's not gas prices where they are, because on a relative basis, they're pretty cheap. You can, if you scout around in this area, you can find a gallon of gas. I buy 87. I don't know if you get suckered into that 93 stuff. I bet you do, because you've got one of those fancy European cars. But I drive a fancy Land Rover, and I'm going 87. But that's not my point. My point is that when the gas gauge in the car slips below a quarter tank, and it always seems to happen when my wife is driving this car, she feels as punishment for leaving her on empty, she's going to go to the most expensive gas station, use the credit card, and buy 93. So that, in fact, instead of spending about a $2.09 a gallon, which is what I have found, and have that gas station lined up for a cash 87 purchase, she's dropping like $2.89 a gallon and actually thinking it's funny.
Well, she's trying to indoctrinate you, and that's your punishment for bad behavior, because that should always be.
Oh, so you think I'm a bad guy
fault.
on this?
No, that's not.
You
that's
think I shouldn't?
Not what I said. But we should talk about it's important to bring the car home with a full tank of gas. And on that, because I have a full tank of gas right now, we should get out of here.
Let's drive on out of here. See you tomorrow.